in the bottom and put a conduit and ran everything through there. So, but for production, that wasn't necessarily going to be the best way. It was going to have some light probably hitting it, and UV wasn't going to be great there. Just getting in the way, visually, safety-wise. So we're going to had to find a different way to do that. So this is screenshots. We went back and forth on the hinges. So we switched to soft close cylindrical rotary damper hinges, and then we designed these brackets, these hinge brackets. You can see up here in the top right, where we were able to route the wires through these. And then the dampers, this is a mirrored part, so we could use it on both sides, mold this, use it on both sides. The hinges would go into that, route the wires through those hinge brackets up from the bottom to the top with a capped end. So you can see the bottom pictures, maybe a little bit how this then went into the bottom, and then the steel plate fascia would hold those hinges in place. So those, like I said, very different from prototype to production. A lot of different reasons that we needed to solve, a better way to do that.
Did you just know that those hinges existed, or did Zeiss already?
Voxlite did a lot of the sourcing. So again, like I said, a lot of collaboration, and a lot of things went right away. And one of those is just we had people to work on different aspects of it. And so the sourcing, there were parts of it, but a lot of the sourcing was not done by Trig, because there's a lot of overseas sourcing that, as we were deep into CAD, we didn't have the time to do that. And so they were able to do that. But we helped find, the weight that they needed to solve for. So we were able to provide the weight of that, and then they could source hinges to work. A couple more things. I think I don't know where it's supposed to be done, but interior flexibility. So just designing for production. This was going overseas as well as components, internals, ballasts, which run the bulbs and things. Those were all different. We had designed the inside to fit a different array of up to, I think, 4 different components instead of just one. So we could just mold one piece and it could fit for all those different on the internals. And then you can see the bottom, the whole base can come off to switch those out for servicing. So here's going back to one of the questions about low fidelity. So this is the reflectors. Very kind of critical point. It had to have a specific calculation for reflectivity in a way, but also just fitting these in and having the angles right that it's going to hit where we need to with the light coming in. So there was work done in just the 2 middle parts that you can see of the cardboard and tinfoil. There's some tests with these bulbs done on tinfoil with the cardboard. And so this is just last page here, basically, of the final product there in one of the settings, and then we did some animation and rendering for Zeiss for their marketing. So this is just a portion of what we did, where it just shows the single button design. So that easy use of a single button, we want it to be understood, nothing to mess with, doesn't change up their process, but a single button initiates a solenoid lock that will not let this open while it's running. It activates that light strip to show you the process, bathes the frames in UV light, and then in 40 seconds, your 6 to 10 frames are done. So this is last slide here, wrapping up. Just a couple points I want to kind of reiterate. Insights that we found, or that I found, and I think could be helpful. One is the power of collaboration. I found this in some of your grads, the product innovation lab. We still do that. Yes, that was my favorite class. Who's going to be taking it yet, or if you will be undergrads, come back and do product innovation lab. Pair you up with engineers, business students, designers, and you design a product. And it was the best course I ever took, because it was pretty much real life. I felt, especially looking at this, the power of collaboration. Utilize the aspects of team members and their strengths and their expertise. Find vendors and partners and things that really know what they're doing and know how to work with other people. So you may be a great designer, but if you can't work with other people, it might get very difficult. So know your skill set, know what you need to work on. Some of that's design work, some of that's personal skills. I think that's an important thing, to be able to collaborate. prototype versus production. We had touched on this quite a bit. We designed for prototype, needed to hit a deadline, had to do some certain functions, but ultimately we then had to design for production. So know what you're designing for, and know what needs to change later. So it's okay to maybe not have some stuff figured out or have it planned for a prototype, but then know what you need to change for production, because there's a lot of different things that go into production that need to be solved a different way. Prototypes, you're trying to learn certain things, right? Production, you need to have those solved. User experience is key. So I think in any product, you want a user to enjoy using it and know how to use it, understand using it. So we've really felt from the outside, this is a very unassuming product, I feel like. But it has a lot going on, but it just has a one button. You don't really have to question too much what it's doing. It's a very easy experience. We didn't want to affect the employees at the optometry offices, their workflow. We wanted to seamlessly integrate this into what they're doing, because we're trying to help them through this age of COVID, and I mean really beyond, now that we know health situation, this can be used to really keep everything kind of safe. But one button, get it clean, get it out back onto the shelves for the next user. And lastly, visual brand language. I don't know how much you really touch on this in any of your classes. There's maybe some projects you do a little bit, but I think that's a really, really key point in design. You're either doing it for an internal company, or you're at the design firm and you're for a lot of different places. So have your own design style probably, but know how to translate that to different visual brand languages. Because you want, I know we did questions along the way, which is great. It's probably better than doing them all here at the end. But if you do have any questions, yeah.
So triggers, for something this rapid, did you guys run into any troubles?
There was definitely challenges. But like I said, we did daily check-ins, either video check-ins or just like email check-ins, where we sent, a lot of that was just, I took pictures of what we sent in our emails. So a lot of that was our screenshots. So it was just check-ins and that. So we've gotten pretty used to working virtually. So we have a lot of different tools. We use Mural, which is an online whiteboarding space. So basically you can just do everything on, the board and kind of working that together, which we did, brainstorming different stuff. We went back and forth on email. There was definitely some challenges, but I would say Triggs, like I said, since 2011, and me for the past 4 years, been doing kind of online virtual work. And so we've gotten pretty good at it. But there was definitely challenges. There's then starting to communicate with manufacturers and vendors overseas versus here. And so that always gets difficult too. But yeah, it's nice to have a space for sure. We did a lot of early stage prototyping, which probably would have been great if we did have space. So this worked out where, like I said, we trusted the CAD, we got it done, printed it, and, we met once to put it together. So we weren't having to do a lot of that. That would have been difficult if we had to meet up a lot of different times for iterations. But there's someone else.
How did you go about pitching the idea to?
I was not in on that. Like I said, Dave Cohen of Voxlight was a big factor in that early stage. He had that idea. We did some of that early concepts, where out there, a lot of different forms, early concepts that he used to pitch to Zeiss. So ultimately, Voxlight was on the hook for delivering the product, and we were contracted out to get them to where they needed to be. And so that early stage process was not part of what I did. So I'm sorry, I can't really answer that. Yeah.
How often do you find yourself just having to trust the CAD in your design?
It's definitely relative. I'm working on something right now that we've had 5-6 iterations printed from Proto Labs and sent back, and so depends on the timeline, depends on the client. But I like to always trust the CAD. So I try and if it had to be one time, I'm trying to model it that I'm fairly confident it's going to work. And I know that's not a great answer, but I mean, I go into the model like really trying to make it work. And sometimes those iterations are client changes that they want to do. It might work, but we need to make it a little better here. We might find that something's too thin for a hinge and we got to change that. And so I didn't know that in the CAD necessarily, but we normally have prototypes that we do iterations of. This was definitely a little bit different than the norm. So yeah, we're normally getting some different prototypes. Which is great. I mean, here I got a tour. You can use all those different 3D printers and print stuff out, test it out, do different iterations. Any other questions? I know we're probably low, but
This might be a lengthy answer, but if you were part of the Red Dot process, could you explain that? And then also like what submissions were?
yeah, I helped write out some of the like question and essay stuff. I can't remember it entirely. I think Zeiss was the submitting party of that. But I know there's like just kind of like essay, I mean, answering questions of like essay, unless I'm mixing that up with the IDEA one or something. I don't know. I don't have a great answer there. I don't know what exactly you're wondering about that. I mean, just like,
I'm just curious because when you go on their website, you get like one image and like a small paragraph. So I'm wondering.
yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, I think there's definitely like 5, 6 like different like questions that you have to write a mini essay about, like why you should pick this.
And you send a lot of photos. And
Yeah, photos. I think you're allowed to send a video, and I might be mixing it up with what's the other one? IDEA. We've done some IDEA and some Red Dot, and I don't know. I think they're both pretty similar. Though.
Yeah.
I mean, I know probably. I don't know. Maybe someone else has done it. It sells through a student app because I know it's kind of similar. But yeah, as a student, you can do it, and I think it's cheaper. So maybe you can find someone that's done as a student. They might have a better answer.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe one more. Yeah.
If you have time. From a student designer perspective, it seems like it would be really challenging to start with your base form and the base function, and then later down the line, you get to know the size of the bulbs and the PCBs that you're working with and the general reflective properties. And I'm curious how you guys keep from getting hung up in those details, especially with the timeline that you were talking about. If there's a rule of thumb for how much space you need for these things or how flexible you would be.
Yeah, let me. I don't know which slide it is. This. Oh, look at that first. So like looking at this, I would say. Oh, look, he's in the room, Professor. Ooh. Listen to what he says. When you do your CAD modeling, try and plan ahead to be able to adjust your model. So think down, going down the tree, how things are going to affect down your tree in SolidWorks, right? So I like to start with a base model that, basically there's no internals. It's probably a solid and everything. And like, if you got to go back and change some widths and whatever, it's not going to throw you off. I try and keep fillets as much as possible till the end. The surfacing, try and come at the end. But basically just plan out a little bit, what at the start or practice your early modeling to kind of have an intention of like, this is a good way to model that you can change it down the line. One easy one, I say just don't start adding a ton of fillets early because it's just going to be bad. But I like to make a master model. So like I take this kind of as a solid model, and then I can input that into a new like file, and then kind of work on different parts of it. So like the lid or the base. And then if I need to change the master model, there's some stuff that comes up where it doesn't work great, but normally that works pretty well. Where if I need to change that master model kind of block thing, it translates like to the new part pretty well. There's a lot of different ways to do SolidWorks multi-bodies, internal bodies and stuff like that. So just try and be aware of what you're working on now and what works and what doesn't, because early CAD definitely helps down the line, especially when you're having 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 parts and stuff. So I don't actually know how many are in there, but I think it's something like that. But,
So I think you guys did a very good job.
oh, we cut you off.
This looks like a Zeiss product because they are very particular on their brand language. When you first show your sketches, the whole thing looks like a tree. Yeah, so this doesn't look a Zeiss product. But later on, you came out something that aligns with the form language. And so we have a machine out there. It's very heavy. It's very heavy, and the thing out there because they gave it to me. And that thing is very expensive. How much do you think that costs?
2,500.
I think she was close.
5,000.
Someone said, I think it was 800.
Oh, that's good.
I think if I'm right, unless there was like early sales on Zeiss website or something, I think it was being sold for
Yeah, I was told it's about $1,000.
okay,
But
1,000.
that's a cost. It's not the selling part. So that's a lot of money essentially.
Yeah, and again, I wasn't in on the marketing of it, so I don't know the exact numbers. But
Yeah, anyway, there's a question about radar. You can see that many products we display here are won multiple radar awards. That's a very prestigious award. So yeah, our alumni have been doing very well. We need this design competition. Okay, so again, Brian, thank you very much
Yeah.
for coming to speak to us. And again, students, thanks for being here. We have some alumni right here. We have some local designers here. They're probably gonna hang out here a little bit. So I think it's a good opportunity for you guys to network, get to know each other. And I think Brian will be around here for a few minutes. Any questions, feel free to ask him.
thanks
Okay.
for sticking around. I know I went a little bit over maybe what was planned for an hour, but thanks for holding with me.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
What?
Very cool presentation, thank you.
All students, we are trying to reform the IDSA student chapter here. So if you are interested, we have like a little form. So you can put your name, first name, last name, and email. We also have flyers around too, where you can fill out an interest form on your phone too. But well, yeah. So and we're also trying to rekindle the professional IDSA as well, so that we can kind of come together as a community, have some fun time, have some good design talks, just like we had today. So we are also trying to do that too, but at the same time, for us, we are not professionals at the moment, so we would love to like be able to talk to you guys and get your emails as well and kind of get that contact going. Thanks.
I'll put it over.
Okay, have a nice evening. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you shaking or no?
Yeah, right. No, I just wanted to say hi. That was really great. Really nice. Well, I'm a big fan of Zeiss Optics. I use a lot of their scopes. Or I don't know their scope. We should afford their scopes. What the other platform.
Oh,
But, yeah, that's